Get ready to uncover the automotive misfires of the 1940s. Here are 10 crappy cars from the 1940s that were so cheaply made, only those on a strict budget could consider them. These models promised basic transportation, but came with underpowered engines, awkward designs, and minimal features. From constant breakdowns to uninspired looks, these cars left much to be desired. You won't believe these lackluster rides actually made it onto the road. The 1948 Ford Prefect is a car that evokes mixed feelings among owners and automotive enthusiasts alike. Designed as an affordable family vehicle in the aftermath of World War II, it aimed to cater to the needs of everyday drivers. However, despite its intentions, the Prefect earned a reputation as one of the more subpar vehicles of its time. Let's explore why it faced such criticism and garnered unflattering remarks from its own owners. One of the main issues with the Ford Prefect was its underwhelming power. Equipped with a modest 10-horsepower engine, the vehicle was notably sluggish, leaving drivers feeling like they were behind the wheel of a cart rather than a car. The performance was lackluster at best, making even routine driving a tedious experience. Many owners reminisced about the frustrating feeling of being unable to keep pace with other vehicles on the road, especially during overtaking maneuvers. As one owner aptly put it, taking the Prefect onto the highway felt like an invitation to disaster. The acceleration was painfully slow, and the engine struggled to provide the power needed for more dynamic driving situations, rendering it unsuitable for faster roads. Another significant drawback was the outdated suspension system. The Prefect's handling left much to be desired, and its suspension was poorly equipped to absorb bumps and road imperfections. Owners often describe their journeys as bumpy and uncomfortable, with every pothole feeling magnified inside the cabin. The experience of driving the Prefect over rough terrain was particularly trying. It felt as though the car was constantly jolting and shaking, which contributed to a less than enjoyable driving experience. Many drivers accustomed to more refined vehicles found the Prefect's ride quality to be a deal breaker, leading them to comment that every trip felt like an endurance test. Inside, the Ford Prefect was equally unremarkable. The interior was sparse, featuring cheap materials and minimal comforts. The dashboard offered only the most basic indicators, leaving many drivers feeling disconnected from their vehicle's performance. The seats were often described as stiff and uncomfortable, especially for longer journeys. One owner shared their sentiment saying, "Spending hours in a Prefect was like sitting on a park bench. Not exactly what you want for a road trip." The lack of modern conveniences, such as a working radio or heating system, turned even simple commutes into rather dull affairs, particularly during colder months. Aesthetically, the Ford Prefect did not win any awards either. Its boxy design and unappealing proportions led many to consider it unattractive. Some owners humorously referred to it as the ugliest car on the road, lamenting that its appearance was anything but stylish. With its elongated nose and angular shapes, the Prefect seemed to lack any design flair. One particularly vocal owner recalled, "Every time I approached my Prefect, I felt a bit embarrassed. It was more of an eyesore than a beloved automobile." Reliability was another major concern for those who owned a Ford Prefect. The car's combination of weak performance and outdated technology meant that it was prone to frequent breakdowns. Owners often found themselves facing frustrating repairs, as critical components like the starter and gearbox were notoriously unreliable. The Prefect became more of a headache than a solution for everyday transportation needs. One owner reflected, "It seemed like the Prefect broke down at the most inconvenient times, turning a simple trip to the store into a major ordeal." In conclusion, the 1948 Ford Prefect represents a fascinating case of how a well-intentioned vehicle can miss the mark entirely. While it was designed to be a simple, economical mode of transport for post-war Britain, the combination of sluggish performance, outdated features, uncomfortable interiors, and lackluster aesthetics led to a car that many owners viewed with disappointment. The Prefect stands as a reminder of the lessons learned in automotive design and engineering, serving as an example of how manufacturers can improve and adapt to the needs of their consumers over time. For all its flaws, the Prefect has secured a unique place in automotive history, not as a celebrated classic, but rather as a relic of an era that aimed to balance affordability with functionality, often falling short in both regards. The 1941 Fiat 1500 is a notable example of how a once popular vehicle can quickly become outdated and less relevant in the automotive world. Initially launched in the late 1930s, the Fiat 1500 was celebrated for its practicality and affordability. It appealed to families and individuals seeking reliable transportation during a time of economic uncertainty. However, as the world entered the tumultuous era of World War II, the Fiat 1500's reputation began to suffer, leading to a decline in its popularity and competitiveness. One of the primary issues with the Fiat 1500 was its outdated design. When it was first introduced, the car featured a modern aesthetic that attracted many buyers. However, by the early 1940s, its boxy and angular lines were perceived as antiquated and uninspired. While competitors were rolling out sleek, streamlined designs, the Fiat 1500 appeared increasingly irrelevant. Consumers looking for a new car were drawn to vehicles that reflected the optimism and innovation of the post-war era. Many Fiat 1500 owners expressed dissatisfaction with the car's appearance, feeling that it lacked the flair and sophistication that they desired. Performance was another significant drawback of the Fiat 1500. Powered by a 45 horsepower engine, the car struggled to provide the kind of performance that drivers expected. In a time when other manufacturers were introducing more powerful engines, the Fiat 1500's lack of horsepower made it sluggish and unresponsive. The car's acceleration was disappointing, leaving drivers frustrated when merging onto highways or trying to overtake slower vehicles. Many drivers found themselves longing for a vehicle that could deliver a more engaging driving experience rather than a chore. The impact of World War II on the Fiat 1500 was profound. The war diverted resources and materials, leading to significant constraints in production capabilities. As a result, Fiat struggled to maintain the quality and innovation that characterized its earlier models. Wartime shortages forced the company to use substandard materials, leading to a decline in the overall quality of the Fiat 1500. Owners began to notice fit and finish issues, such as rattling interiors and misaligned panels, which frustrated them and deterred potential buyers. As the war came to an end, the automotive industry began to rapidly evolve. Manufacturers were eager to introduce new technologies and designs to attract consumers in a recovering market. However, Fiat struggled to adapt to these changes, particularly with the 1500. While other companies were innovating with new engine technologies and modern conveniences, the Fiat 1500 remained largely unchanged. This stagnation made it less appealing to buyers who sought something new and exciting. The failure to introduce updated models or significant improvements meant that the Fiat 1500 was left behind in a competitive market. Ultimately, the combination of an outdated design, lackluster performance, declining quality, and failure to innovate led to the Fiat 1500 becoming increasingly irrelevant in the post-war automotive market. As newer models from competitors began to dominate sales, Fiat found itself at a disadvantage. The Fiat 1500, once a staple of family transportation, was overshadowed by cars that offered better value, performance, and appeal. Many former owners viewed their experiences with the car as a cautionary tale about the importance of adaptability in the automotive industry. In conclusion, the 1941 Fiat 1500 serves as a poignant reminder of how quickly an automotive icon can fade into obscurity. Once a beloved choice among consumers, it struggled to adapt to the changing market dynamics and the realities of post-war life. With its outdated design, underwhelming performance, compromised quality, and lack of innovation, the Fiat 1500 ultimately became a vehicle associated with disappointment rather than admiration. Today, while it may hold nostalgic value for some, the story of the Fiat 1500 underscores the importance of evolution and innovation in the automotive industry. It reminds us that those who fail to adapt risk becoming mere footnotes in history as the landscape continues to evolve and change. The 1949 Tatraplan T600 is a fascinating piece of automotive history, representing Czechoslovakia's ambitious attempts to create a modern vehicle in the post-World War II era. While the Tatraplan was intended to showcase innovative engineering and design, it ultimately garnered a reputation for being more problematic than practical. Let's explore the reasons behind its lackluster performance and the criticisms it faced from owners and automotive enthusiasts alike. One of the most distinctive features of the T600 was its unusual rear-engine, air-cooled design. While this configuration was not entirely uncommon in the automotive world, it presented several challenges for the T600. The rear-engine layout led to significant weight distribution issues that adversely affected the car's handling. Many drivers found that the vehicle felt unbalanced, particularly during cornering and at higher speeds. The sensation of instability made for a nerve-wracking driving experience. With one owner recalling, "You had to be extra cautious on turns. It felt like the car wanted to tip over." The handling shortcomings meant that the T600 was often criticized for its lack of road confidence, which detracted from the overall driving experience. The T600 was powered by a 52 horsepower flat-4 engine, a configuration that, while providing some novelty, proved to be inadequate for the car's size and weight. Many owners found the engine to be underwhelming, leading to sluggish acceleration and lackluster performance. The power output was simply insufficient to provide the kind of driving experience that many had come to expect from vehicles of that era. One driver lamented, "It felt like the T600 was always struggling to keep up, whether on the highway or in the city." This lack of power made it difficult to merge into traffic or maintain speed on inclines, further diminishing the appeal of the Tatraplan. Another significant issue with the T600 was its propensity to overheat. The air-cooled engine, while innovative in theory, often struggled to maintain optimal operating temperatures, particularly in warmer weather or during prolonged use. Owners reported that overheating became a common concern, leading to frequent stops to let the engine cool down. This problem not only added to the frustration of driving the T600, but also raised questions about its overall reliability. One owner described the experience, saying, "You always had to keep an eye on the temperature gauge, and it felt like you were constantly on the edge of a breakdown." The overheating issues further tarnished the T600's reputation, making it seem more like a gamble than a dependable vehicle. The complexity of repairs and maintenance was another notable drawback of the Tatraplan T600. With its unique engineering and rear-engine layout, many of the vehicle's components were difficult to access, making repairs cumbersome and time-consuming. Owners often found themselves frustrated by the lack of readily available parts and the specialized knowledge required to fix the car. As one former owner put it, "Every time something went wrong, it felt like a major ordeal to get it sorted out. It was far from the simple, reliable car I had hoped for." This complexity not only led to increased repair costs, but also discouraged potential buyers who were looking for a straightforward, reliable vehicle. In addition to its engineering shortcomings, the overall design of the T600 was met with mixed reviews. While it featured a distinctive and somewhat futuristic look for its time, many found the aesthetics to be polarizing. The car's unique profile and unconventional styling did not resonate with all consumers, leading some to view it as odd rather than attractive. This perception may have further contributed to its struggles in the market, as buyers often gravitated toward more conventional designs that offered a sense of familiarity. In conclusion, the 1949 Tatraplan T600 represents an ambitious yet ultimately flawed attempt at automotive innovation in post-war Czechoslovakia. Its unusual rear-engine design, underpowered engine, overheating issues, and complicated repairs made it a challenging vehicle to own and operate. While it was intended to be a modern and forward-thinking car, the reality fell short of expectations. The T600 serves as a reminder of the importance of balancing innovation with practicality in automotive design. For all its uniqueness, it remains a cautionary tale of how even the most ambitious engineering endeavors can face significant obstacles in the pursuit of excellence. As automotive enthusiasts reflect on the legacy of the Tatraplan T600, it stands as an emblem of both aspiration and the harsh realities of vehicle development during a transformative period in history. The 1948 Peugeot 202 is often remembered as a car that struggled to make its mark in the post-war automotive landscape, falling short of the expectations set by its predecessors and contemporaries. While it was designed to be an affordable and economical vehicle for the masses, the Peugeot 202 ultimately garnered a reputation for its numerous shortcomings. Let's delve into the various aspects that contributed to the car's less-than-stellar reception among drivers and automotive enthusiasts. One of the most glaring issues with the Peugeot 202 was its outdated appearance. When it was launched, the automotive world was undergoing a wave of design innovation, with manufacturers introducing sleek lines and modern features. However, the Peugeot 202's styling was decidedly old-fashioned, with a boxy silhouette and minimal flair that made it appear more like a relic from a previous era rather than a contemporary vehicle. Many potential buyers were put off by the car's aesthetics, viewing it as unexciting and uninspired. One former owner reflected on this sentiment, saying, "When I looked at the Peugeot 202, I couldn't help but feel it was stuck in the past. It just didn't have the charm or character of other cars on the road." The car was powered by a small 1.1-liter engine, which was underwhelming in terms of performance. With limited horsepower, the Peugeot 202 struggled to reach decent speeds, making it feel sluggish and unresponsive, particularly when merging onto highways or navigating steep inclines. Drivers often found themselves frustrated with the lack of power, feeling that the car simply couldn't keep up with the demands of modern driving. One owner lamented, "I often felt like I was holding up traffic. It just couldn't muster the energy to get moving when I needed it to." This lack of power severely impacted the overall driving experience, leaving many drivers dissatisfied. While the Peugeot 202 was marketed as an economical option, this focus on cost-effectiveness came at a price, namely the car's handling and comfort. Many owners noted that the car's suspension felt inadequate, resulting in a jarring ride that made longer journeys uncomfortable. The handling was often described as poor, with a lack of responsiveness that left drivers feeling disconnected from the road. One former driver expressed their frustration, stating, "Driving the Peugeot 202 was like steering a boat. It felt heavy and unwieldy, making it difficult to navigate turns smoothly." This lack of handling precision further diminished the car's appeal, especially among those who valued a more engaging driving experience. Perhaps the most significant drawback of the Peugeot 202 was its cramped and uncomfortable interior. Designed to accommodate a small family, the car often felt claustrophobic, with limited legroom and headroom for both the driver and passengers. The seating was described as stiff and uninviting, leading to discomfort on longer trips. Many owners found themselves longing for a more spacious and comfortable environment while on the road. One driver recalled, "I would dread long drives because the cramped interior made it hard to relax. It was like being stuck in a tin can." This lack of comfort significantly impacted the car's usability as a family vehicle, making it less appealing for those looking for a practical daily driver. Additionally, the overall build quality of the Peugeot 202 left much to be desired. Reports of fit and finish issues were not uncommon, with owners noting that the car felt flimsy and poorly constructed. This perception of quality extended to the reliability of the vehicle, with many experiencing mechanical issues that further eroded their confidence in the car. One owner shared, "I was constantly worried about something going wrong. It just didn't feel like a well-built car." These concerns contributed to the Peugeot 202's reputation as an unreliable option, making it less attractive to potential buyers. In conclusion, the 1948 Peugeot 202 serves as a cautionary tale about the challenges faced by automotive manufacturers in the post-war era. While it aimed to be an economical and practical vehicle, its outdated design, underpowered engine, poor handling, and cramped interior ultimately left it wanting. For many drivers, the Peugeot 202 represented a missed opportunity, a car that had the potential to succeed, but fell short of delivering a satisfying driving experience. As automotive enthusiasts reflect on the legacy of the Peugeot 202, it stands as a reminder of the importance of balancing design, performance, and comfort in creating a vehicle that truly meets the needs and desires of its drivers. The 1946 BMW 321 stands as a symbol of the automotive industry's struggle to regain its footing in the aftermath of World War II. Launched during a time when resources were scarce and manufacturing was far from robust, the BMW 321 represented a continuation of pre-war designs rather than the innovative step forward that many consumers hoped for. While it offered a chance for BMW to re-establish itself, the 321 ultimately became known for its limitations, both in terms of performance and reliability. Let's explore the reasons behind this car's troubled reputation and why it left many owners disappointed. One of the most significant drawbacks of the BMW 321 was its reliance on pre-war design elements. With resources stretched thin, BMW essentially revived the design of its 1938 model, resulting in a car that looked and felt outdated in a rapidly changing post-war world. In an era when many other manufacturers were beginning to adopt new designs and technologies, the 321's styling felt like a throwback to a previous generation. The boxy, conservative lines and minimalist interior were practical but uninspired, offering little to entice buyers who wanted a car that symbolized progress and post-war optimism. One former owner commented, "It was like BMW had paused in time, and the 321 looked every bit a product of a pre-war mindset. There was nothing exciting or new about it." Powering the BMW 321 was a 1.9-liter, 45-horsepower engine, a configuration that was far from thrilling. With limited power output, the 321 struggled to offer the kind of performance that drivers expected, especially given its price point. Acceleration was slow, and the car often felt underpowered when climbing hills or merging onto highways. Many drivers found the car frustratingly sluggish, which detracted from the overall driving experience. One owner described the experience, saying, "You had to be patient behind the wheel. It wasn't a car that made you feel excited. It was a car that made you feel like you were always running behind." This lack of power made the 321 difficult to enjoy, particularly as other manufacturers began introducing more powerful engines that left the BMW 321 feeling outdated and inadequate. Another significant issue with the BMW 321 was the compromised build quality. BMW, like many German manufacturers at the time, was dealing with the aftermath of wartime destruction. Factories had been damaged or repurposed, and skilled labor was in short supply. As a result, the quality of the BMW 321 was far from consistent. Many parts were made with limited materials and craftsmanship, leading to frequent mechanical issues. Owners reported problems with the transmission, brakes, and other components, often requiring repairs that were both costly and time-consuming. One frustrated owner recalled, "It felt like something was always going wrong. You'd fix one problem only to find another. It was exhausting and expensive." The car's reliability issues became a defining aspect of its reputation. As post-war economies slowly stabilized, consumers were beginning to demand more dependable vehicles, but the 321 struggled to meet these expectations. The frequent breakdowns and mechanical issues became a source of frustration for owners, many of whom felt they were spending more time in the repair shop than on the road. One driver described it as a car that kept you constantly on edge, wondering when the next part would fail. This lack of reliability severely limited the appeal of the 321, as few wanted a car that was as much a burden as it was a means of transportation. Beyond its performance and quality issues, the BMW 321 also struggled to find its place in the competitive post-war market. With its outdated design, limited power, and reliability issues, it simply couldn't compete with other brands that were quickly moving to capture the attention of buyers eager for something new. BMW had intended for the 321 to be a bridge into the future, but it felt more like a relic from the past. As the automotive industry rapidly evolved, the 321 was left behind, overshadowed by vehicles that offered more in terms of style, performance, and dependability. In conclusion, the 1946 BMW 321 is a testament to the challenges faced by automakers attempting to recover from the devastation of World War II. BMW's reliance on a pre-war design, paired with an underpowered engine and compromised build quality, resulted in a car that left much to be desired. While the 321 holds historical value as an example of the automotive industry's resilience, it ultimately failed to provide the kind of experience that post-war consumers were looking for. For enthusiasts today, the BMW 321 may evoke a sense of nostalgia, but it also stands as a reminder of the difficulties of producing a quality vehicle in the face of overwhelming adversity. The 1941 Plymouth P12 was conceived as a budget-friendly, reliable car for American families, reflecting Plymouth's commitment to producing affordable transportation. However, while the P12 achieved some popularity due to its accessibility, it quickly gained a reputation for being underwhelming in performance, reliability, and design. Here we'll examine why the Plymouth P12 is often viewed as a lackluster model and why many drivers found it disappointing, despite its popularity at the time. One of the most notable drawbacks of the Plymouth P12 was its performance, or lack thereof. The car was equipped with an inline-six engine that, while reliable in theory, proved sluggish and underpowered, particularly when the car was loaded with passengers or cargo. With a modest horsepower output, the P12 struggled to accelerate effectively, leaving drivers feeling as though the car was fighting to keep up with the flow of traffic. While the engine was intended to be economical, the payoff was often a painfully slow drive. Owners who frequently carried a full load of passengers found the engine's limitations especially frustrating. One driver recalled, "It was fine if you were driving alone, but add a few passengers and it felt like you were dragging a boulder uphill. It just didn't have the power to handle anything beyond basic driving." This lack of performance made the P12 a poor choice for families needing a more robust vehicle for everyday use. Reliability issues further plagued the Plymouth P12, detracting from its appeal as a budget-friendly option. In theory, it was meant to be a sturdy, dependable model, but in practice, it often fell short. Owners reported frequent mechanical problems, with issues arising in the transmission, electrical system, and cooling system. Many of these problems required repairs that could be costly, particularly for a car marketed to budget-conscious buyers. As a result, the P12 became a source of frustration for many drivers, who found themselves repeatedly facing unexpected breakdowns. One owner described the experience saying, "It seemed like every time I thought it was finally fixed, something else would go wrong. It became an endless cycle of repairs and trips to the mechanic." This lack of reliability undercut the P12's affordability, as frequent repairs added unexpected expenses for owners. Styling was another area where the Plymouth P12 struggled to impress. While competitors like Ford and Chevrolet were innovating with more modern and eye-catching designs, the P12's aesthetic was conservative, plain, and uninspired. The boxy body, minimal chrome accents, and unadorned grille gave the car a basic, utilitarian look that failed to capture the sense of style many buyers were beginning to seek. In the pre-war era, car buyers were increasingly drawn to vehicles that reflected a sense of optimism and modernity. The P12, however, looked more like a throwback than a bold step forward, and its uninspired design did little to win over style-conscious consumers. One driver remarked, "It was a car that looked like it was made to blend in with the background, not stand out. There was nothing about it that made you feel excited to own it." The interior of the P12 also left much to be desired. In keeping with its budget-friendly nature, the cabin was basic and lacked comfort features that other cars of the time were beginning to incorporate. The seats were serviceable but stiff, and there was limited legroom and headroom, especially for rear seat passengers. Many owners noted that the interior felt cramped and uncomfortable, which made longer trips an ordeal rather than a pleasure. The lack of comfort added to the overall sense that the P12 was designed with function over form, sacrificing user experience for the sake of affordability. One owner described the interior as barely more comfortable than a park bench, fine for short drives but miserable if you had to go any distance. The P12's shortcomings in performance, reliability, and design ultimately meant that it failed to meet the evolving expectations of post-war consumers. While it offered an economical choice, many buyers found that they were sacrificing too much in terms of driving enjoyment, style, and peace of mind. As the automotive industry progressed in the years following the war, the P12 became a model that felt outdated, a symbol of practicality taken to an uninspiring extreme. In retrospect, the 1941 Plymouth P12 is often remembered as a product of its time, designed to meet basic transportation needs rather than inspire or excite. For enthusiasts today, it serves as a reminder of the compromises that can come with budget models, where affordability sometimes outweighs innovation and quality. Though it fulfilled its role in providing a low-cost option during the uncertain pre-war years, the 1947 DKW F89 is a classic example of a post-war economy car that tried to meet the demands of a rebuilding Germany but fell short in many areas. Produced by DKW, part of the Auto Union Group, which eventually became Audi, the F89 was aimed at providing an affordable, accessible vehicle for the masses during a time of economic recovery. However, the compromises made to achieve this affordability left the F89 with significant drawbacks that made it a frustrating choice for drivers who wanted more than just the bare minimum in a car. Here's an in-depth look at why the DKW F89 is often regarded as a less-than-stellar model. First and foremost, the DKW F89 was powered by a modest two-stroke, two-cylinder engine that produced only 23 horsepower. While this setup was intended to keep costs low and make the car economical, the trade-off was painfully slow acceleration and limited speed. With just 23 horsepower, the F89 struggled to keep up with other vehicles on the road, making highway driving feel almost impossible. The lack of power was especially noticeable on inclines or when the car was loaded with passengers, leading to an experience that could be best described as sluggish. One owner recalled, "It felt like the engine was constantly straining, like it was being pushed beyond its limits just to maintain a reasonable speed." This underpowered engine turned the F89 into a vehicle suited only for short, low-speed trips, which limited its appeal for drivers who needed a more versatile car. The two-stroke engine, while economical, was also notoriously noisy. The characteristic buzzing sound of the engine was audible both inside and outside the car, creating a less-than-pleasant driving environment. Many owners found the noise level to be overwhelming, especially at higher speeds, where the engine's whine became difficult to ignore. The sound of the F89's engine became a point of frustration, with one driver saying, "It wasn't just a hum, it was a constant reminder of the engine's limitations, and it made the car feel cheap." This noise issue contributed to the perception that the F89 was lacking in refinement, giving it a budget feel that didn't resonate well with drivers. Another major shortfall of the F89 was its cramped interior. Designed to be compact and affordable, the car's cabin was minimalistic, with little regard for passenger comfort or space. The seats were basic and provided minimal support, making longer drives uncomfortable. Legroom and headroom were limited, especially for rear seat passengers, and the lack of space made the car feel almost claustrophobic. Many drivers found that the F89 was suited only for short commutes rather than extended journeys, as the interior discomfort quickly became a problem. One former owner remarked, "It was like being in a sardine can. Every trip felt like you were sacrificing comfort just to get from point A to point B." The lack of interior space further diminished the car's usability as a family vehicle, leaving it better suited for solo or short-distance travel. The simplistic design of the F89 extended beyond just its interior layout. The overall build was bare bones, with minimal features and amenities. While this was partly due to the economic climate of post-war Germany, it left drivers feeling as though the car lacked any true personality or appeal. The exterior was plain and unadorned, with a utilitarian look that made the F89 blend in rather than stand out. Inside, the dashboard was stripped down to the basics, providing only the essential controls without any of the flair or innovation seen in more expensive models. This Spartan approach meant that the F89 felt more like a tool than an enjoyable vehicle. As one driver put it, "It was practical, yes, but it was also utterly boring. There was nothing about it that made you enjoy the experience of driving." Adding to its limitations was the F89's less-than-stellar build quality. Due to the scarcity of high-quality materials in the post-war years, the car's construction often felt flimsy and prone to wear. Many components felt delicate and prone to breaking under regular use, leading to frequent repairs and maintenance that frustrated owners. The lightweight construction contributed to a sense of fragility, with many owners describing the car as feeling like it could fall apart at any moment. One owner noted, "I felt like I had to handle it with kid gloves. Every little bump or turn made me worry that something might break." This lack of durability made the F89 an unreliable choice for those seeking a dependable daily driver. In summary, the 1947 DKW F89 stands as a testament to the challenges of producing an affordable post-war economy car. While it served a purpose in providing accessible transportation during a time of financial strain, it did so with significant trade-offs in power, comfort, noise, and overall build quality. The 1948 Standard 8 was introduced as an entry-level vehicle intended to provide basic transportation at an affordable price. Produced by the Standard Motor Company in the United Kingdom, the 8 was designed with a minimalist approach to appeal to post-war consumers who needed reliable but inexpensive cars. However, the severe compromises made in the name of affordability resulted in a model that left much to be desired. For many owners, the Standard 8 was a car that embodied the bare minimum, lacking in power, comfort, and quality. Let's explore why the Standard 8 is often remembered as a less than satisfactory vehicle, even if it served a practical purpose. One of the primary criticisms of the Standard 8 was its engine, an extremely modest 0.8-liter, four-cylinder engine that produced minimal power. With such a small engine, the car struggled to provide even adequate performance. Acceleration was painfully slow, and the car had trouble maintaining a reasonable speed, especially on inclines. Owners frequently described the 8 as sluggish, noting that it often felt underpowered and strained, even under normal driving conditions. One driver remarked, "Every time I drove up a hill, it felt like the car was begging for mercy." This lack of power severely limited the Standard 8's usability, making it a challenge to drive on anything other than flat urban roads. Long trips or rural routes with hilly terrain were arduous, as the engine simply lacked the strength to handle such conditions comfortably. With a limited top speed, the Standard 8 felt out of place on faster roads, even by the standards of the time. The car's low horsepower made overtaking other vehicles nearly impossible, forcing drivers to remain in the slow lane and often frustrating other motorists. For those used to cars with even slightly more power, the Standard 8's limitations were glaring. One owner noted, "It was a car that couldn't keep up. You'd feel like everyone else was zipping past while you were barely crawling along." This aspect made the 8 a frustrating choice for drivers who wanted a vehicle that could handle more than just basic city commutes. In addition to its weak performance, the Standard 8's interior was stripped down to the essentials, offering little in the way of comfort or convenience. The cabin was cramped and bare, with minimal cushioning in the seats and limited legroom, especially for rear passengers. The interior fittings were basic, with no real amenities to speak of: no heating, minimal upholstery, and bare metal surfaces that gave the car an austere, unfinished feel. This lack of amenities contributed to a Spartan driving experience that left many owners wishing for more comfort. One driver recalled, "It was a car that didn't care about comfort at all. You sat on hard seats with almost no padding, and every bump in the road felt like a personal insult." This lack of attention to comfort made the Standard 8 an unappealing choice for anything more than short, local trips. The 8's ride quality was also an issue, as its basic suspension system did little to absorb the bumps and jolts of the road. Many drivers described the experience as jarring, with the car transferring every uneven surface directly to the passengers. The result was a bumpy and uncomfortable ride that further detracted from the car's usability as a daily driver. As one owner described it, "You felt every crack and pothole. It was like being shaken around in a tin can." This rough ride made the 8 an unappealing option for families or anyone hoping for a smooth, pleasant driving experience. Styling-wise, the Standard 8 was plain and uninspired, with a boxy shape and minimal decorative elements. While some cars of the era embraced a more streamlined look, the 8 had a basic, utilitarian design that reflected its low-cost nature. The exterior's lack of flair made the car look dated even as it was released, giving it the appearance of an older vehicle rather than a fresh post-war model. This design choice did little to attract style-conscious buyers, who viewed the car as uninteresting. One driver quipped, "It looked like a car designed to be invisible. Nothing about it stood out or felt special." Adding to the Standard 8's drawbacks was a reputation for reliability issues. Due to the basic construction and lack of quality materials, the car was prone to frequent mechanical problems that required constant maintenance. Owners often found themselves dealing with issues in the engine, transmission, and electrical systems, which eroded any sense of affordability the car may have initially provided. One owner described the frustration, saying, "I thought I was saving money with this car, but it felt like I was always fixing something. It was cheap to buy, but not cheap to own." The 1947 Ford Taunus G93A was Ford's attempt to re-establish its presence in post-war Germany, providing an affordable car to meet the needs of a country still recovering from the devastation of World War II. While the G93A had practical intentions, the car's performance, design, and reliability issues made it a less than impressive choice for buyers seeking dependable and comfortable transportation. Here's an in-depth look at why the 1947 Ford Taunus G93A is remembered as a disappointing model. One of the G93A's most notable shortcomings was its engine performance. Ford equipped the car with a small, underpowered four-cylinder engine that offered little in terms of horsepower. The low power output made acceleration sluggish, and the car struggled to reach even moderate speeds. This lack of power severely limited its usability on anything other than city streets, where the slow pace was at least manageable. Drivers found the G93A especially challenging on the Autobahn or rural roads with inclines, where the engine struggled to keep up. As one owner recalled, "You had to plan every move in advance, especially if you wanted to merge or overtake. It just didn't have the power to handle normal driving situations comfortably." This poor performance made the G93A frustrating to drive for anyone expecting a car that could handle daily demands with ease. Fuel efficiency was another issue that undermined the G93A's practicality. Despite its modest engine, the car's fuel consumption was surprisingly high, making it an inefficient option at a time when fuel economy was essential. Post-war Germany faced resource shortages, and fuel was both expensive and hard to come by. For drivers who had to stretch their fuel budget, the G93A's high consumption made it a poor choice. Many owners were disappointed to find that the car guzzled fuel far faster than expected, which turned an affordable vehicle into a costly one to operate. One owner noted, "It seemed like I was constantly filling up. For a car with such little power, it used fuel like something much bigger." This inefficiency was a major drawback for drivers who had hoped for a cost-effective solution in an era of scarcity. The G93A's appearance also did little to inspire pride of ownership. Ford chose to carry over a pre-war design that looked outdated by the time the car was reintroduced in 1947. The boxy body, minimal chrome, and uninspired grille made the car look plain and utilitarian rather than stylish or modern. While some other post-war cars embraced new, streamlined designs that hinted at optimism and progress, the G93A looked like a relic of an earlier time. Many buyers felt that the car was visually unappealing and uninspiring, leading to a sense that Ford had failed to move forward with the times. One driver described it as a car that looked like it was stuck in the past. There was nothing exciting about it, nothing to make you feel like you were driving something new. The interior of the G93A was equally uninspired and barebones. Ford prioritized affordability, which resulted in a cabin that was stripped of comforts and conveniences. The seats were basic and provided minimal cushioning, making long trips uncomfortable. Legroom was limited, especially for rear seat passengers, and the interior materials felt cheap and unfinished. With only the most essential controls on the dashboard, the car's interior had a utilitarian feel that left many drivers wanting more. One former owner shared, "The interior was as basic as it gets. It felt like it was designed just to be functional, with no thought given to comfort or enjoyment." This Spartan approach made the G93A a poor choice for families or anyone looking for a more enjoyable driving experience. Reliability was yet another area where the G93A fell short. Due to post-war resource limitations and manufacturing challenges, quality control was inconsistent, and the car was plagued by frequent mechanical issues. Many owners reported problems with the transmission, electrical system, and brakes, which led to frequent and costly repairs. For a vehicle marketed as an affordable option, the G93A's maintenance costs quickly added up, leaving owners frustrated and financially strained. As one driver put it was supposed to be a budget-friendly car, but I spent more time at the mechanics than on the road. It was a constant drain on my wallet. This lack of reliability undermined the car's purpose as an economical vehicle, turning it into a financial burden rather than a practical asset. In summary, the 1947 Ford Taunus G93A stands as an example of how compromises in design, performance, and quality can result in a car that fails to meet consumer expectations. Ford's attempt to re-enter the German market was well-intentioned, but the G93A's weak engine, poor fuel efficiency, outdated appearance, uncomfortable interior. The 1949 Sunbeam Talbot 80 was an ambitious attempt by Sunbeam Talbot to create a British luxury sedan that combined elegance with solid engineering. Positioned as a premium option in the post-war automobile market, it aimed to attract drivers looking for a refined driving experience with a touch of class. Unfortunately, despite its lofty aspirations, the Sunbeam Talbot 80 didn't quite meet expectations, leaving many owners disappointed by its underwhelming performance, cramped interior, and lackluster handling. Here's a closer look at why the 1949 Sunbeam Talbot 80 is often considered a crappy car in automotive history. One of the primary issues with the Sunbeam Talbot 80 was its engine, a 1.2-liter, four-cylinder power plant that generated only modest horsepower. For a car marketed as a luxury vehicle, the engine simply didn't deliver the punch one might expect. Acceleration was slow, and the car lacked the responsiveness and power necessary to provide a spirited or engaging drive. While many post-war cars had underpowered engines due to resource constraints, the lack of power in the Sunbeam Talbot 80 was especially noticeable because it was supposed to represent a higher tier of quality. Many drivers found the car frustratingly sluggish, particularly on inclines or when attempting to overtake other vehicles. One owner recalled, "For a car that was supposed to feel luxurious, it moved like a snail. It was an embarrassment to be passed by smaller, cheaper cars." This weak performance undermined the car's luxury image, leaving owners feeling shortchanged on the promise of prestige. The interior of the Sunbeam Talbot 80, while intended to feel upscale, fell short in terms of space and comfort. The cabin was noticeably cramped, with limited legroom and headroom that made longer journeys uncomfortable, especially for passengers in the rear seats. The seats themselves, although upholstered in higher quality materials, provided minimal support, which further detracted from the driving experience. Many drivers found that the lack of space and comfort was at odds with the car's luxury image. As one owner described it, "It looked nice, but once you sat inside, you realized how small and tight it was. It felt more like an economy car than a luxury model." This lack of interior room made the car feel like a compromise, rather than the spacious, relaxing experience associated with true luxury vehicles. Handling was another area where the Sunbeam Talbot 80 failed to impress. The car's suspension was designed to prioritize a smooth ride, but in practice it struggled to balance comfort with stability. The handling felt heavy and sluggish, making it difficult to navigate sharp turns or respond quickly in traffic. This issue was exacerbated by the car's limited power, which meant drivers often had to work harder to maintain control. For a car that was marketed as a refined vehicle, the poor handling made it feel more cumbersome and awkward to drive. One owner commented, "It felt like you were driving a much larger car than it actually was. The steering was heavy, and it didn't respond the way you'd want from something in this price range." This lack of agile handling made the Sunbeam Talbot 80 less enjoyable to drive, especially in city traffic or on winding roads where precision and control were essential. Adding to the list of disappointments, the Sunbeam Talbot 80 didn't live up to its luxury price tag in terms of features and refinement. While it had some premium touches, such as chrome detailing and better quality upholstery, the overall experience didn't feel truly luxurious. The dashboard was simple, with basic instrumentation and a lack of modern amenities that other luxury cars were beginning to offer. While post-war resource constraints partially explain these limitations, drivers still expected more from a car marketed as a higher-end model. Many owners felt that the car lacked the refinement necessary to justify its price. As one owner put it, "It looked like luxury from the outside, but inside it was basic and uninspiring. For the money, you expected more elegance and thoughtfulness in the design. This lack of features made the Sunbeam Talbot 80 feel like it was trying to cut corners, further disappointing those who had invested in it, expecting a premium experience. Reliability issues also plagued the Sunbeam Talbot 80, further detracting from its appeal. Many owners reported mechanical problems, including issues with the engine, transmission, and electrical systems. The car's quality control appeared inconsistent, with some models experiencing frequent breakdowns and costly repairs that tarnished its reputation as a luxury vehicle. For a car in the upper price range, these reliability concerns were unacceptable to many owners, who felt that they were constantly battling mechanical issues rather than enjoying a worry-free experience.